Hello and welcome to Blaine's Escape Corner, our little corner of the internet where we get together and talk about the things that help us escape. Tonight, morning, wherever you are in the world, is Fun Time Friday. I don't care if it's Saturday where you are. It's Friday for me. And that means fun times, which means bringing on chat members and anybody else who's interested and wants to talk, wants to follow YouTube terms of services so I don't get my channel taken down. And we can have some fun chatting about anime and escapism. Doesn't have to limit to anime. I'm not picky. We can talk about whatever. Hail, Steven Ransom already in the chat, popping off. I've got some DMs already we will get to in just a moment. To start, we're coming up to the wrap-ups, right? This is the end of the season. This is where the season changes. It ends, and then it becomes summer season. We can talk about that in a little bit. So let's crack open a beautiful box, a nice juice box of Oni Kuroshi, while I regale you with how freaking awesome the ending of Love After World Domination was. All right, no spoilers. No spoilers for this first bit here. Holy crap, it was so good. It was everything I needed in that show to wrap it up, make it so I don't need a sequel, but if they made a sequel, I would be down for it. I could definitely watch it, but it so wonderfully encapsulated everything about that show in one single go. One little critique would be I would have liked a little more blue. Anybody who's watched the series knows what I mean. Once we get on that battlefield, give me a little boy blue. Would have been kind of fun, kind of nice, kind of silly, kind of cute. Maybe have him save a certain monstrous person. When they're playing in the battle there. It's pretty cool. Could be pretty sweet. I would have loved that. That would be the only change that I would make, is give Blue his little time to shine there. That would have been fantastic. But overall, that feeling you get when the hero of the story is getting ready to do the heroic deed that will finish it, and everything inside of you swells up a little bit, and you're like, I need to take action. I need to rise up behind them and help. I need to do something to make sure that this happens and happens good. I got that welling. You're listening to the Mel Gibson freedom speech, and you're like, yeah, I got, the feeling. Everybody knows that feeling, just all of the the scene and everything, just fantastic. I could not have asked for a better ending to what is currently my favorite show of spring 2022. So with that, let's pop this open. Let's rise up with the DMs. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. Poppity pop pop. Poppity pop pop. Invite guests. Copy the Restream link. I like Restream because I can see the audio. It's a little delayed when I'm reading it though, but it's okay. It's okay. Oh Jeebles. Oh Jeebles. Oh dear. I had a small spill. But Kampai, everyone. You gotta drink it down out of the box a little bit so it doesn't spill necessarily as easily. Oh, did that not send? Did I double send? I hate when you try to send a message in Twitter and then it just doesn't scroll down to show that you've sent it. You're like, did I send it? And you have to physically scroll down. What's wrong with Twitter sometimes? All right. It's not a messaging platform. It's exclusively a messaging platform. Who uses Twitter for anything not messaging related? It's basically the name of the game. Wow, I have got a lump growing on the side of my shin. Again, more yard-based work today. Picked up a big wooden box and was moving it, and it kind of pivoted a little bit and just whack hit me right in the shin. I got that line going on where it's ugh, that hurt. That's painful. That is a pained little bit. Boom, boom, boom. What else we got going on? We got new anime announcements coming that are popping off here. Quite exciting. I have no idea if they'll be any good, but I'm excited, and that means that like maybe it'll be worth it. Maybe it'll be, a reason to watch a show. It's called Maid Wars, which I don't know if you're familiar with Maid Wars, but it's a pretty good idea. This is a pretty good idea, I think, overall. Alrighty. Pop culture popping into the house. How are we doing today?
Hey, doing good, Blaine.
Good. Did you see this Maid Wars show?
Oh, I haven't even managed to tune into that one yet.
Literally just got announced. It's coming this summer. It's called Maid Wars, and it's by PA Works. Now, PA Works is the same company that brought us like Angel Beats and Shirobako, and so they do two kinds of shows. They do shows with interesting twists where you're like, oh, okay, well, I can get behind that. And they do shows where it's just people doing their job. Like Shirobako is a story about people making anime, and it's just that and how they go about their lives. So we could either get maids just doing maid stuff as maids, or we could end up with a underground backroom battling, brawling maids all in Akiba. Either way, I'm excited. We have the inimitable Steven Ransom, who is a black box currently. If this black box comes on and there's just a P on the screen, I'm gonna hide you for a minute. I don't think he's gonna give us a P, but you never know.
Yeah, let's hope not.
A little accidental peekaboo. Here, I'll share it on screen so we can take a look at it together. So PA Works revealing, it's Akiba Maid War, so it's even more specific, cool, and interesting because they are literally on the streets of Akiba in Japan, passing out flyers, making omurice, doing the doodlies. Really, I'm excited. Even if it's just like maids doing maid work, it should still be good, should still be fun overall.
Yeah, that looks good. I definitely give that a watch.
Okay, all right. Steven is an S now. Hello. Are you here? I titled it Boomer Stream, but that didn't mean just go ahead and boomer it all.
Is Steven a boomer? Are you a boomer, Steven?
I think so. At least he claims to be, but we all know that I'm the biggest boomer here. Every stream I start without my audio working is just more sign of that. Oh no, now it's black box again. Poor guy. Maybe hold on, maybe he's DMing me, but nope, nothing over there. So there was that. Also, are you familiar with the giant Gundam that's in Yokohama?
I have seen that. That thing is awesome.
It gets better. How do you make a robot more awesome? Just take a guess.
You make it move. You make it transform.
Okay, so it could move. Transform's not really a Gundam thing, but I like right. Where your head's at. You let kids pilot it.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
A group of lucky school children were given the chance to control Yoko. This person's so excited, they're double typing words.
Chance.
They're able to pilot the life-size Gundam statue. This is the one that they made that they then flipped off the world with, and it was hilarious.
Yeah,
12 motors allow for independent movement of each of the robot's fingers. Oh my goodness. 1,400 children have taken part in Gundam Base's educational program.
Wow.
That is so exciting. Like,
does that mean they're secretly training them to operate Gundams?
Has to be. It has to be. This has to be what leads to child robot soldiers.
It's got to be.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Like little glove control.
Whew.
Gosh, that just seems. What'd you do at school today, Billy? I got to pilot a Gundam.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I would be giddy. I would be giddy. I would go to school for that. I would literally go to class like specifically so that I could do that.
Well, I'd go and do that right now, and they'd have a hell of a time getting me out of there because I'd be like, no, it's my turn still.
Sir, it's not a fully functioning Gundam. You can't sit here. Sir, stop, please.
Yeah, that's when you're using the Gundam to move the people out of the security guards out of the way. Yeah, you can go over here.
What are you going to do now? I am now in control of the most powerful weapon on the planet. Oh my goodness. So what has your escape been like this week? Because for me, it's a lot of like happy endings so far. I've got Healer Girl. I've got Love After World Domination. It's just been a good week for escape. Plus, it's just so baking hot sun. So all of the work that I'm doing is all outside and it's all like yard based. So it's just it's heavy and grueling. So I'm so thankful for good shows to come into.
Yeah, like I told you before, I finished Iron Blooded Orphans.
Oh, fantastic!
I even took notes so that you and I can have some good discussion, so I don't forget anything.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, well,
actually taking notes on a show that I think is fantastic. That's amazing. Yeah. Just give me your general opinion on it.
From what Gundam shows I've seen before, it's like, yes, this is definitely a typical Gundam show with the political aspects that go with it, and just that, yeah, lots of people dying.
yeah, definitely on that front. Yeah. I freaking love it. I unfortunately have had no time to catch up on Macross, so
that's okay.
But give me a day. I'll do it. I'll be ready for Sunday anime stream.
Oh yeah.
No biggie. No biggie. How many episodes do I have to watch?
26.
I can do that. I can do that in a day.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It's a Saturday. Like I have an actual Saturday. You are here. You say that. You say that in chat. You say, I am here. We see that you're here, but we don't hear you. You want me to kick you out and you can come back in? I've got no audio. Oh my goodness.
The S stands for silence.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, goodbye. Kicking your comeback. Okay, you should the same link should work. I think there's probably just one of those like I'm just not getting audio is all. Like it's the what is it? There's like a button that says like allow.
Yes, allow audio, allow video.
Oh, jeebles. That's why I use a box now, so that when I swing my hands around, I can not lose all my sake.
Nice.
Oh, refreshing the page is all it took. I see.
What's up, Serranos?
Oh, I heard a beep, and I see
How
a symbol
about now? Ah, there I am.
Oh,
I am finally here.
I could hear you.
Wow, that was weird. I think what happened when you took me off, it bumped me and didn't allow the mic to activate again. And I was trying to find the icon because this is a different stream setup than StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, hello, gentlemen.
Hey, howdy.
Welcome.
Yeah, StreamYard works. But what I really like is being able to see everybody's audio levels visually. I've done sound for years, so just having that there makes me very happy.
Well, like I told you, I'm working on an iPhone, which is what I'm talking through right now.
Mm,
But I've
I
got
see.
my I've got the iPad showing me your screen so that I have access to Twitter as well.
Uh-huh. That makes sense. You're doing the dual computer stream setup, but the
I'm
computers
trying.
are handheld.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Nice.
At least I've got the phone just on a hookup. So, hello, Popular Mechanics.
Hey.
I forgot. I have to give a huge shout out. On the last 2 streams ago, when I was talking about how Almighty Lolly dropped his Berserk video, and I was super stoked, and I watched it, and everything was all great. He sent a bunch of people into chat, and they all said like, "You're a cool guy." I was like, "All right, thank you." It was really nice, really nice. So thank you, Lolly, if you're watching this one, or anyone from Almighty Lolly's channel. That was really sweet of everybody. Congratulations on being cool people too.
Yeah, right on. That's good stuff when that happens.
Yeah. All right. So Steven, now that you are here,
Yes, officially. How's my sound level? Is it too much?
Oh, you're good. You can
Okay.
give me a little more, but like I've got plenty of headroom to mess with you.
Okay.
Everything sounds
Okay.
fine though.
Cool deal. Cool deal.
What has your escape been like this week? We got pop culture over here finishing off Iron Blooded Orphans. I'm having fun with stuff wrapping up this season. What's your escape this week?
Well, I have to make a confession. I am not streaming anything at present. All of my activity has literally been on YouTube and watching reactions.
That counts as escapism.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yes, it does. I just finished, hanging out with Purple Valkyrie and Salty and that whole gang. She was just doing a chill stream to kind of get back
fun.
in touch. But
are they back in England from Dallas, or they streaming from Dallas?
She's still in Texas. She's still in Texas, so she's just wanted to reconnect with the community and get some hours in on the tube, which is great. And she was just getting blessings from the chat. Her chat was just absolutely beautiful. I tell you, it brings me to tears sometimes to see how beautiful the chat gets.
But only in private dark rooms where you let one out. No, I love Purple's voice alone is amazing. She has got that really, like, I'm a dumb American, so it could be a hick accent to other European people, but she has that like very regal English accent that just it sounds so cool to listen to.
So to answer your question, my big escape right now has been watching multiple streamers reacting to Demon Slayer and Spy Family.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Let's start with Demon Slayer. What about Demon Slayer are we seeing reacted to?
First, they're all finishing up their seasons.
Okay.
Well, they're live reacting, edited reactions. I'm watching about 4 different YouTube streamers react to it, and it's so magical to see these young people enjoying this fresh take on the good old tropes of anime, which is like best friends bring power and effort and training bring extra strength and skills. And Demon Slayer just keeps on giving. The visual joy on screen is so good. I mean, I've had moments where tears welled up in my eyes, and I'm just like, I am so proud of anime. I've been watching since 72, 73.
Okay.
And to see anime still breathing this much life into itself is an absolute joy. It's a joy for me.
Big,
I mean,
big welcome. Big welcome
Yeah.
to Serranos real quick. Just saying hi.
Hello. I definitely agree heavily on that. Just the animation, like specifically, matters quite a bit to me. And as I've grown like older, I say older, not even nearly as old as you guys, but as I've grown from a teenager to more closer to being an adult, I've grown to appreciate much
He's
more
over here. I've watched an
presentation.
anime since '73.
I was born 20 years after that, something like that, you know.
I love being an ambassador to this form of storytelling.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I just bathe my love onto the chat sometimes to watch all of these new voices reacting to what I've loved my whole life. And
Yeah.
I vote
And
2D.
it's funny too, because like, what yesterday we were kind of shitting on Demon Slayer because as far as like demonic anime goes, it's at the top of everybody's online list, but there's not really that great of like a demon monster show, but it's a really good shonen show. So you put out a stream where you're like, yeah, no, that's not very good for what I'm looking for in like a monstrous, like I want like things exploding into other monsters and then melding together, right? And you wonder like, well, is some newbie watching that? And then they're like, well, Demon Slayer is good. I like Demon Slayer. And they don't get that, yes, Demon Slayer is good in its category. You know, you always wonder about that stuff.
Right.
Because
I mean, Demon Slayer is really just a shonen. Yeah, it's not really.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
it's not about the demons in that show for me. I mean, yeah, they have really interesting powers and they all have fascinating, deep backstories, which is really a treat in the show. But the expression of their powers, like how their powers function visually on screen, I don't know any of the characters' names that I could actually say them out loud, but Mr. Dark-haired hero boy, with his flame breathing combined with water breathing techniques. I mean, It just blows my mind. And like the lightning kid, it's so good. And that coupling of Full Metal Alchemist levels of comedy where their faces change and they get all cartoon. I love that. I absolutely love that because live action cannot achieve these goals. It doesn't even come close.
No,
I mean,
exactly.
if you're gonna be like using live action actors to like portray something like that, you're obviously gonna have to use computer graphics. You can't really do that with physical pyrotechnics and stuff like that and make it look the same. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah, I think it's a waste of time.
Yep.
No, definitely.
Disney's done some incredible stuff, and Pixar's done some incredible stuff, but like Arcane came along and out of nowhere just blew the socks off of all of them.
Yes.
Well, and look at Star Wars Visions, right? When Disney got a hold of Star Wars, I had two hopes. I had they'll release the OG cut because they were releasing like Disney Vault stuff all over the place, and I was like, oh, give us an OG cut, like an original cut of Star Wars. And number two was take any of these amazing books that are out there and give me that story as just a really short animated cool thing, because you animate something, you don't have to worry about the uncanny valley. You don't have to worry about that's fantastical, I can't believe that that's happening. And we saw that with Visions. Like Visions was really cool. It was like, oh, I love this. And it reminded me of like when the Animatrix came out, or what's the trio of movies, Memories, where they've got the sticky
and
guy
Robot Carnival is the same way.
Yeah, and it's like I wanted more of that. I wanted to explore more of the world, and that's just something that happens with anime. And I've talked about like how because of the doujin industry, how just some dude making a comic, like we have all these labels for like indie comics and Comicsgate and all this other stuff, but in Japan, that's just been a part of the industry for years.
Yeah.
Like actually a core pillar of stuff that people read. Like a lot of people like read these independent publications.
Oh, 100%. And you can tell because you go to like a place, like a store, like a not Animate. There's another store that's in Akihabara, that's like a real big anime themed store, and like level 1, figures because figures get people in. You see a big Booba statue, you just walk in that store. That's what happens. I can't explain it. Don't ask my wife. Then we go up to the second floor, and you get all of like the published manga. But then floors 3 through like 8 are all of the self-published doujins, the individual one-shots, and it's floor after floor after floor of just people who are like, you know, what if I did this? What if I do this? What if I write this? And some of them take off, some of them don't. Some of them are porn, some of them are interesting, some of them are, you know, you get everything in that. And so from that, you've got this massive well of just interesting IPs to pull from in order to make shows and have shows. All right, I got more links.
Oh, sweet.
What you said? So Demon Slayer reactions, and then what was the?
Oh, Spy Family. And
Okay, Spy Family.
when I watch reactions, it's really to get a caliper on the social grasp of the material, and I watch like there's a Muslim girl in England, this Caucasian guy who's in Korea, and 2 or 3 other people, and it's across the board. They're all reacting. Like if I were to put them on screen at the same time, all of the punches are hitting so solidly, like tears are welling up simultaneously on the same cuts. It's just, it's so perfect. It's speaking to such a broad demographic. And like I said in your chat, when you were with Brandon the other day, it's just a miracle to me that the list that you brought up, I was flabbergasted. The level of creativity and juxtaposition of tropes, it just blows my mind. Japan just knocks it out of the park every single time. That golfing show you were talking about, it's like,
oh my gosh,
what the
so
hell?
good.
What the
It's
hell?
so good. And,
I mean,
and
Guy
that's
Ritchie
not even
should
the
take
biggest
notes.
surprise. Like as far as the season goes, like Birdie Wing, I knew I would watch that show because I love watching sports anime that's about a sport that I actually enjoy. Because sometimes you watch something about something that you actually are knowledgeable about, and you're like, well, that's not real, that's not true, that's not the thing. And so your brain knowing the thing ruins some of the magic. But with anime, like I've yet to watch a sports anime that made me feel that way. I always feel like, oh yeah, exciting. They've got power moves and stuff, and it's just ping pong, you know, and you just get excited about it. So I knew I'd watch it. But then you get that whole extra bit with the mafia, with all these underpinnings. It gets real dark before it starts to get a little brighter. But even that this season, like I still can't believe how good Healer Girl was. And I don't even know if any of the rest of you are watching this show, or if I'm just like, this show is amazing. I love the musical.
I
You're
have
like,
not
yeah,
watched
okay,
it,
boy.
and I probably won't. I probably just won't ever get around to it, you know? There's so many things to watch.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is the other thing, of course, is like you've got just so much to watch. And like Spy Family is so good. It's so good, and it's going to be the one that people are talking about for a while.
And
You
it
know?
deserves to be.
Well, there was a gentleman, the gentleman in Korea that I've been watching. He did a reaction and brought it all the way to the end of the season for Mob Psycho. And first of all, that artist, God, what a career explosion that man has had. Good grief, like God bless him. I mean, Jesus, started off just chiseling drawings on a piece of paper, and look at him now after One Punch. It's amazing. But that's a show that is not about the action.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's not even about his
that's great.
powers even. It's like the opposite. It's so good in that way.
Yeah, One Punch has that interesting take where, you know, you can look at it from the artistic style of, it doesn't matter what it looks like, just get your story out there, and if it resonates with someone, they'll enjoy it.
Yep.
You can look at it from the just the uniqueness of what if you're so powerful that you're bored, and you've got some not narcissism. What's the other one? What's it called? Like when you're like
No, I
Oh,
think
I'm alone in the
narcissism
world.
probably
I have no
comes pretty.
clue.
Nihilism?
Well,
nihilism. That's the one. I knew it was
Right.
an N-ism. Nihilism, where you're like, yeah, well, who cares? What matters? And it's sort of it's fun to get that, and
That
for it to
seems-
look like a backside of a bar napkin is just hilarious.
yeah. Well, that seems to be his voice, because there's all of the supervillains in Mob Psycho are the same way. They've given up
Yeah.
on everything human, and they're like, I'm so powerful, I just don't even give a shit.
Mhm.
I don't even care. Apologies.
Which is always an interesting way to look at just you always want to analyze like what is something by looking at what makes it not that thing. So by taking someone and making them not human, you're then like, okay, so then we can go back, we can step back from there. And that goes, I mean, even Berserk's kind of like that.
Well, to get
You know,
old
they're
school on
no longer human. Demons.
Diamond. The diamond is a monster girl now.
to get old school, Pocorosa deals with that concept
Oh yeah,
where he becomes nihilistic.
goofy ass pig man.
Yeah, and he only looks that way because he's just given up on his humanity, or he doesn't
Right.
think he has humanity, which is kind of something that Howl's Moving Castle plays with as well.
Mhm.
Where
So, importantly, then, speaking of humanity, what is a monster girl?
well, in the visual language of anime, and gentlemen, please chime in. Don't let me dominate the conversation because I've been told that I do that sometimes. But I've always seen that Japan likes to combine chans together, where you get mech girl and sushi girl, and like they're half one thing and half the other thing, and it's more
Yeah.
about the shell that they live in. Like there's a human in there somewhere, but she's so representative of this topic that she becomes half pen and half girl because she's an illustrator. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So you're saying it's the combination of human and other that makes something into a monster girl.
Right.
Yeah. See, I'm with you.
Yeah, I
Because
was gonna
cat
say
girls
it's,
are monster girls.
Yes, of course they are.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe not monster girls, but certainly Daemon girls.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say was the definition of self of monster. What is a monster is rather broad. So I guess
There's
the
a
word
whole
of monster
anime
girl-
about it.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Monster?
It's actually one of my top ones to watch of like older stuff. Yeah,
No,
Ones
I
to
haven't.
watch,
yeah.
or ones that you
It's
have
it's
watched.
like it's higher on the list of stuff I'm going to watch. Yeah, of
Yeah,
stuff
Okay.
pop
like
culture.
older.
It's so good. It's
amazing.
almost like watching a 1960s melodrama on the spies of Berlin. But it gets slightly supernatural, almost in a creepy
Okay.
kind of way. But it's very, very grounded in its visualization. It's not hyper anime at all. I mean,
Right.
there's guns and jackets and cars and dirt and streets and buildings. It's
Of
very
course, they're a
grounded
show
in
that
its reality.
is animated. It just is a show that is animated.
Right,
yeah,
right,
it's a show that could be done live, but they chose to animate it.
Yeah, there's so much freedom because they don't have to worry about period cars. They could just draw the period cars and that's it. It's done.
Yeah. And I always like going back to Spy Family. I like when they make it not quite a certain place, because then it cuts out any of the anachronism arguments where people are like, "Well, that wasn't the." This may surprise you, but a lot of groups of friends I've been in will get pretty tism about things, and specific like cars, watches, and guns. If they are in a movie and outside of their time period, these people will like shut down the entire movie. Like, nope, they didn't care enough. And I'm like, what? The rest of it was good.
Well, I mean,
Hey,
there are parts where they blatantly don't care, where they just disregard cars and weapons and stuff like that, where it looks
Yeah.
pretty bad. But that's not that common usually.
Well, Gunsmith Cats does it really, really well. I mean, it's just a celebration of the specificness of it all. Where it's like, they're talking about engine block sizes with certain carburetors, and it's the. I just want to draft a line in the sand here. God bless the gatekeepers. Okay, we need people like that. Okay, and I'm not talking about fans and stands and that kind of nonsense. I'm talking about these guys have studied this stuff and they worship the studying of it. So, yeah, I don't mind it at all. It's like, correct me. Come on, bring it. I want to know. I want to learn.
Oh yeah. Well, and that sort of leads off of like one of the things that I love most about like Daemon, right? Where you're learning something through the show. So if you're gonna learn about Wagashi, the show better know about Japanese sweets if it's gonna teach me about Japanese sweets. So if they're messing up what they're teaching me, we're gonna have a problem. Some people take it a little too far though, and I like to tease them, but 100%. Like definitely, correction is great, and making sure that things are on point is important. There's entire people that are paid just to make sure that you're holding a cup of coffee in the same hand as you move throughout a scene, right? Like we want things that are accurate. Your brain will freak out a little bit if it doesn't. We can also still make fun of the people that get a little too anal about it.
Yeah, no. I agreed that there's a spectrum. There's certainly a spectrum.
Oh,
and,
there's a spectrum, all right.
Yeah.
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 But everybody here see Inglorious Bastards.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No.
Oh
No.
definitely a must see.
Nope,
if
have
you
not.
haven't. It's a lot of fun. Quentin Tarantino really pulls the stops out. But there's a scene in there, and I'm so glad that everybody enjoyed it, where a spy loses his cover because he uses the wrong hand gesture when he's ordering a drink. It's just it's glorious. That's exactly what we're talking about. It's like you could get yourself killed if you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yes. But to go back to something you did say, also, God bless the gatekeepers. Period. Because if you don't like it, there's such thing as fanfic. There's such thing as make your own thing or go do something else.
Right.
I am pro gatekeeping.
Yeah.
I'm
Fine,
being
we talked
gatekept.
before. Yeah, you go.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go second. One note on the not having seen the movie. I brought this up like a couple weeks ago, just chatting in stream. I watched 30 of IMDb's top 250.
Oh, that's right.
Highest rated movies all time. I have not watched many movies whatsoever. And pretty much all those are kids' films because I watched them as a kid.
I forgot about that. We
Yeah.
scrolled through it. I think I've seen like almost 100 and
Yeah,
something.
you see like a good chunk. I've seen almost nothing.
Blew my mind. Blew my mind a little bit there. But you still got time. It's like you're still breathing. You can still watch some stuff. But anyway, like I'm being gatekept from Shikimori, right? Like Shikimori is not for me. Nothing about Shikimori is for me. I will continue to tease Shikimori and say it is boring until the day I die. But literally, my sister, someone who shares an amount of DNA and blood with me, loves Shikimori.
Oh,
And
well.
it's just there's a wall. I just don't understand. Doesn't matter how much we talk about it. The end of it is, well, I think it's cute. And I'm like, it's just so boring. And that's where our conversation ends. And that's okay. Because I'm not going to tell her not to watch it, and she's not going to tell me that I have to watch it. So it's I always hate those gatekeeping arguments. Like, don't gatekeep. We want to be an inclusive space. And it's like there's a difference between being inclusive,
No.
like by putting a wheelchair ramp out there, and being everybody bring your ideas to the table and creating this mass gross like when you're a kid in like elementary school and you draw like on the top part of the paper and then you fold it over so only the bottom of the drawing sticking out and you pass it to the next person, and by the end of it you've got this weird monster where like the middle section's a penis because someone was trying to play a joke on it, and you're like, God, what is going on here?
Right.
You you can't have too many people with their too many cooks. It's too many cooks in the kitchen.
No,
That's
inclusive
right.
is
Yeah.
putting a welcome mat out.
Yeah,
That's it.
everybody's welcome if you enjoy this. That caveat right there. If you enjoy this, everyone's welcome.
At that point, you just gotta put your hand on your sister's shoulder and give her a pitiable stare.
If I put my hand on my sister's shoulder, she would slug me in a second.
Why would you deserve it? Yes. Would it be worth it?
Of course.
Probably not, but I'd still do it.
Yeah. Slap in the face, anime love instantly. So
Oh
yeah.
no, a slap in the face will leave a mark. She knows how to. She knows how to get me.
That's the love part. I actually I came across an anime, and I'm actually trying to look up the name. I've been watching these collections, these super edits of a whole season on
Okay.
YouTube, and they never put the actual title because that'll get them in trouble, right? So
Right.
they put some other thing, but it's literally about this kid that falls in love with the coldest girl in the whole school. She's a new member of the class. They're both in their middle school years, and she has like a flat personality that he slowly brings out of her over the course of the season. But the weird anime part of it is that her saliva is what he loves. So every time she wants to celebrate their relationship, she'll get some saliva on her finger and put it in his mouth.
Okay. Now I know
That's
where
kinda
you're going
weird.
with this. It's mystery girlfriend.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I think I mentioned it in the chat with you.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you did, and Brandon was so confused because he read. I think you put the title, and then you said saliva, and then something, and he was like, and he already like has trouble with Japanese words, so saying the title was a bit rough, and then he's like saliva.
yeah,
All right,
I
and you just
copied it
moved
off of a
on.
website, and he was just like, "All right, moving on. Anime weirdness. I can't have that." I love Brandon, but he hasn't watched as much as like some of you guys in the chat, in the stream. I mean, I haven't watched as much. I mean, I've watched a lot, but
Well, you
you know,
gotta remember, we used to have summer breaks when some of these shows were coming out, right? Like I spent my entire freshman summer basically locked in my room watching anime. Yes, anime, and playing like every free to play RPG, like MMORPG that I could find, right? So like there's 2.5 months that if you started watching anime in 73, I'm guessing you were probably busy during the summers of 2004. 2004? Yeah, sure. 2004, right? So a lot of the big anime boom that came out once the internet was a thing, I got in right at the ground floor of. So
Right.
I'm not that Zoomer that had internet the entire time, but like I grew into it. I remember dial up, I knew that, but I got in early enough that I still had summer breaks to waste all of my time watching show after show after show. So it makes sense. It makes sense. I never fault someone for not seeing a show because at the end of the day, that means you still get to experience it for the first time.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So to explain further, I mean, the concept sounds weird, right? But anime equals, weirdness. That's part of the magic of the whole thing. It is the most sentimentally adorable show. I mean, there's no fan service. I mean, not by my definition of what I think is supposed to be fan service. But then again, I don't think Evangelion is as fan servicey as people claim it to be, but whatever. I'm older school than that. But there's this moment every time he goes to hug her, she does this hyper kung fu anime step out of the way move and pulls out a pair of scissors that she keeps on her like a sword.
Yep.
And threatens him with it. And she's just like, I didn't give you permission to hug me. Keep your distance. So it's like she's totally in control of the relationship, and it's fantastic. And these subtle little things where they accidentally touch each other makes them both like super magical.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it's adorable. It's like, I'm big on the cute. I love the cute.
You love the cute saliva.
Well, I got hooked on like how bizarre it was, and as I started to watch, I'm like, oh, okay, the bizarreness is the hook.
You
Right?
sound like everybody
Blaine's
that's
right. That's
into
how
a
fetishes
weird
start.
thing.
That's how fetishes start.
Yeah.
I was just seeing this video online when I was browsing for other stuff, and that just like bit of is like so hot.
Man, I was looking for something, and so I searched like sexy balloons, and like, man, it was weird. It was really weird, but I just kept looking.
I just couldn't stop.
This is one of my favorite gifs of all time, and it's the only thing I could think of while you were watching that show. It's just the Scooby-Doo, the smiling Fred. Oh my goodness. I love stuff like that.
Scooby-Doo, it's such a shame that show was animated in 1969.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time that Pink Panther was doing like 5 frames a second. And, George of the Jungle was a thing. And,
right.
Mouths being animated onto still frames of characters to do storytelling, like in Pulp Fiction. Those were real things on Saturday morning cartoons. Scooby-Doo was like insanely high quality for its time, and it's still a thing.
Oh, I freaking love Scooby-Doo. That is
that was Hanna-Barbera at the time. They were tops in the 60s and 70s. People couldn't touch them because they were just, everybody came to them for cartoons that they wanted.
And they were really the Ford of cartoons, right? Because they got like the assembly line going. They just had
exactly.
draw, and had a set standard for doing it.
Yeah, and they did it so smart, right? Like Yogi Bear's tie has entire documentaries made about it, because with the tie, they can use that as a flat that will divide out where the body and the head are. Yep. So in the scene, his body won't move, but his head will move around. But you won't notice that his body isn't moving because his head is moving and talking, and it's all built off of wherever that tie is.
It saves so much money.
And it saves a ton of money. Scooby-Doo's collar does the same thing. If you watch Scooby in different scenes, like his collar acts as like that bridge between the head animation, because as people, we look for faces and how people are moving their faces and moving their head. And so if we see head movement, eye movement, all that kind of stuff, we're like, okay, yeah, it's a person. It's moving around. It's got a head. I understand it. And we don't need to see the body moving all the time. And Hanna-Barbera really got that. Like, everybody's got big collars. And thank God it was the late 60s, 70s, so that they could just put giant collars on everybody and ascots all around. But yeah, it really, you watch it. If you ever like cover up like Shaggy's head in a scene, you'll notice his body doesn't move an inch, but you think it does. Like they were so good at that. So good at cutting corners at the same time.
My brother and I used to collect all of the Hobby Japan and anime magazines way back in the day. And they would publish the individual frame sets, like do like a double page spread or multiple page spread. And you'll see how they break it down and chop it up so that they could pull off tricks like that, basically like animation shorthand. But they were doing it all physically because, how many cells do you need to swap out? It's like, well, you have the one background and, these several others. And that's how you get these cool GIFs of animated water back in the day, because they would just do like 2 or 3 frames and just keep repeating and looping them. That stuff is very educational. If you guys ever want to, check out some, ways of doing that kind of shorthand, those old books, I'm going to see if I can scan a few shots from some of them and put them up. But and even the way they do color breakdowns on the characters is really fascinating. We've become pretty spoiled with all of the the animated live programs that you do a couple of drawings and the computer does in between work, AI style. Kind of blows my mind.
No, I love all that stuff. Um, going back to the starts of the internet, that was my favorite stuff. Was the tradigital animation. So they were doing traditional animation where they're drawing it out, keyframes, and then building their in betweens. But they're doing it all digitally in the traditional style. Stuff like Egoraptor, Rubber Ross. So a lot of their old original stuff was all in that tradigital style where, yes, they were using a computer, but the way they were drawing it out was all in that classic, let's do, this 3-frame sequence, this 10-frame sequence. 15 frames later, I want it to be here, then here. Now I'll do my in-betweens. Like, they're actually doing the animation properly instead of just motion tweening it to get the in-betweens created, right? And that is such an interesting art, but it's something that's been lost for a while. Like we talk about like bad CG in anime, but like bad in-betweens have been a thing since they've been outsourcing forever.
Yep.
There are some really awful in-betweens in anime.
Well,
Look at Super.
You ever see the old Robin Hood, 1977 Robin Hood by Disney?
The
I have
fox,
seen that one.
the furry bait, the animation.
Yeah, the animation. He's a fox, right?
Yeah,
And
that was
Little John is
73.
73. Apologies.
Yeah, that's all right.
That was all done with pencil drawings photocopied in. And that's why it has that pencil-y, scratchy kind of quality to it, because they didn't ink anything. They went
And they
directly
would-
to
and-
glass.
Yeah, and they'd reuse scenes from other movies. Like they'd just take them and trace over them in the characters that they wanted to use. So like Maid Marian dancing was actually like Snow White dancing.
Right,
Like
right.
They did stuff like that, and that probably saved them a lot of time and money as well.
You could call it roughoscoping, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Oh my gosh, rotoscoping. I wish we had like a fully rotoscoped anime, like modern. Like that would be crazy.
well, mocap is probably the closest we'll ever get to that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another one that I want to toss out there is, and this is a very contemporary piece. I've been watching some reactions to Love, Death, and Robots, and it's like,
Oh,
holy
okay.
crap! Some of the sci-fi one with the guy who goes into the bug colony. I mean, did you see any of this?
I get shown some of these from time to time. I have friends that really, really like it. And so like they showed me the zombie attack one from the new series,
Yeah.
where the whole thing's miniatures, and I was like, this is amazing, and I hope it's actually done in stop motion, because it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are done with hand animation as opposed to any sort of mocap, and so, and I think they call it out. It's in the credits. You could see mocap team or animation
Okay.
team, so you could delineate between the two. But I'm a huge fan of classical science fiction, and I have yet to see. And mind you, I've been watching science fiction since I was born in the late '60s. And they have not even come close to some of the bizarreness that's in some of these novels. Not even close. Star Wars, the original, barely scratches the surface. Alien was a revelation.
Yeah, 'cause,
And they
like, those
still
were-
haven't come
Those were
close.
like where a lot of the stories came from, were those little like dime store novels, right? Like
Yeah,
like
because-
most of the sci-fi genre started there with people who were like, what if I just write a silly story? And like
Pulp
all we ever really
magazines.
learn about in school is like Harrison Bergeron, right? Like we don't get too deep into all that.
Right.
Stuff
Yeah,
like
pop culture.
stuff like Buck Rogers was started in the pulp magazines back
Yep.
in like 1929. So
Yeah.
that's when they were sort of the beginnings of it.
Yeah. I don't know why Hollywood got caught up. I guess it was maybe for budgetary constraints. But you compare the old serials, the live action serials, to what Fantasia did in the same year, and it's like, you got to be kidding. It's that demon on the mountain with the volcano. It's like, you can't even come close. You can't do that in live action. Even today, it's like not really great.
Yeah, it's funny.
Oh,
I was
definitely.
thinking about Demon Slayer and how it's like the demon aspect. You know, it's not really that much different from like My Hero. You know, the powers the villain has in My Hero is pretty similar to Demon Power or whatever.
Right.
You know, just like Star Wars, it's not that much sci-fi. It's more like it's just a shonen. You know, it
Mm.
it could be set somewhere else. It could be set something else. I mean, technically no, but just the
Yeah,
general hero's journey is very, very simple.
it would be an interesting thing for any of you to do, to take a look at your favorite classic Hollywood movie and parallel the time period to what was going on in Japan. Like the
Mhm.
number of animes that were either trying to duplicate or coattail the science fiction of Star Wars and Star Trek, and then they just took it up to the 11th degree, of course, like they always do.
Right.
Gundam is a perfect example of that. I mean, the entire Gundam thing is the robot genre, but done in the same military class level as Star Trek.
Yep.
I feel like one easy way to explain that is the fact that nowadays with Hollywood and stuff like that, and all the big corporations that control the publishing so much, you're not really going to see like people pulling stories from Tumblr. You're not going to see like the next great thing pulled from Tumblr like you would a One Punch Man from just a random webcomic.
Hmm.
It's just the way they pull up these stories is different.
Doesn't it seem that's like where they're getting their material from, though? Sometimes
It does. And the people writing it, yes, and then they just translate their stories into better ones,
Yeah.
into better series.
The problem I think that you're alluding to by saying budgetary constraints is less budgetary constraints and more investor risk aversion, right? If I know Star Wars makes $1 bajillion,
Right.
if you pitch me a Star Wars thing, I'm in it. Let's do it. Star Wars makes $1 bajillion when they make random plastic figures of stuff. I'm in. Here's $1 million. You got it.
Right. It's
But
the business model that
Mhm.
sells it.
New
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
doesn't always have the traction. And in America, up until, I mean, very recently, like, I just backed Joe Ball's Death comic because I think his art style is amazing. This guy is the American Kentaro Miura. Like he has got fantastic line work. He does intricate designs that blow my mind. I love his work, but you can't find that guy in a comic book shop. The only reason I find him is because I see him drawing on streams. I see him on Twitter and posting stuff, and then I follow to his Indiegogo where he's got a thing, but he has to draw and make his comic before he has $1, right? He starts Indiegogo, they throw it in there. Eventually, places like Indiegogo and stuff will then pass money along as it comes into the campaign, so he does get money like as it's going, but he still has to step out and go and do that. In order for someone to go to a publisher and say, hey, publisher, give me money. I want to make this thing. They have to prove that this thing will make money. And it's hard to do if you don't have a backing. That's why, you get some YouTubers that get huge and then get their own talk show or something. But they have to get huge first. They have to get, what was it? Lily Singh was her name. She's millions of followers. Gets a talk show and the talk show bombs, because it's a completely different format. So people want to invest in something that they think has a history, has a past, but that doesn't mean that history and past will make money, right?
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of investors that are adverse to the risk. And in today's era where you can make a Kickstarter, an Indiegogo, whatever it may be, and say, hey, where is my where are my clients at? And the clients show up and say, hey, yeah, we'll pay now because that looks pretty cool. That's I think that is the future.
I think there's like two things I can point to is you see how hard it was, or I wouldn't say hard, but Game of Thrones was picked up by HBO, and it was definitely a risk because of the content nature, right? Even though it was massively popular already, they were willing to pick it up because of the prior popularity. It wouldn't have gotten picked up if it wasn't as outstandingly popular, even if it could have been just as good without like such a strong book audience, right?
Right.
And then we have something like The Boys, which is probably I don't actually know much about, it, but I assume it's a smaller comic book that just like blew up, and the reason it got a chance was because of just the current environment of superheroes being really big and stuff like that. It was
Right.
I assume it was well received critically comic book, and that's why they're like, yeah, let's do that one.
Well, I think the American model in the West, we're stuck in our ways like big time. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
definitely.
actually made arguments that like the reason why we're not into nuclear power is because of the atomic age, and we just got stuck in this fear gap with atomic weaponry, and so no nuclear power, it's dangerous. Meanwhile, cars, gas, oil, the Middle East, it's crazy. But if you look at the music model in the West, Garage Band goes to live stream, goes to small music store, goes to record deal. You could probably find a clean model for that. And for some reason, that's a more acceptable model. Maybe because it's an older industry, perhaps, or because it's a live industry.
I think the
but
production's easier.
I think it's the overhead's less. I think it's just less overhead.
Exactly.
You don't have to commit as much
Mm.
money to bring it up. I think that's actually a little bit of the problem for movies is like obviously movies, but just entertainment in general in the West is the publishers are too successful and too big because they have so much money to throw around. They're like, why don't we just go for everybody? Because we can get it out to everybody. We need something that appeals to them. So that's what they're looking
Right.
for.
Which is insane because a best-selling novel is 20,000 copies. 20,000 copies and your bestseller on New York Times bestseller list.
Yep.
That's
Good
it.
grief.
That's it. 10,000 people using a hashtag and you're #1 trending on Twitter. I helped get Tug's tits trending on Twitter, and it made me giggle like a child because that's all it takes. It doesn't take a lot of people to make enough noise for something to be big enough and important enough. But it still takes a lot to get that many people interested in something, right? To hit, yeah, I'm going to tweet this. Something as simple, it doesn't even cost them money. They're not even buying a book, right? But to get people excited or interested in that, the marketing side of things. That's why movies come out. They're like, the movie budget was X, but the the marketing budget was 2X, right? Marketing budgets are huge because 90% of the game is getting enough people in the door or interested in your stuff that they're willing to give you money. I like this question we got from Dragon Ruse, so I popped it up here. What anime would you not watch again, even if it's good? Mine would be a Kame ga Kill. Okay. So for Dragon Ruse, it's a Kame ga Kill. For E-Class, it's Soul Eater. I don't know why an anime that's good I would not want to watch again.
Even for me, the longest really good series I've watched, Hunter x Hunter, I'd gladly watch that again. I don't really have one like that as far as I can think.
Is there
Does it
anything
have
you
to
would
be a
never watch again?
Does it have to be a series, or can it be just like a one-shot movie? Or
It can be a one-shot. It can be three OVAs.
probably Akira for me. I mean, people rave about Akira, and I watched it, but I was just like, okay, I watched it now, and I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, I can feel you on that one. I mean, I would have to go in the classic sense. I would have to go with Ghost in the Shell after seeing the 2 seasons of Ghost in the Shell, the 2 animated seasons. The movie is almost like, yeah, okay, fine, but like, please look at this series. This series is so much more the manga than the movie ever was.
Yeah.
It gets into all this background detail and this texture to the environment and the politics. It's a totally different animal. So that I would easily give up Ghost in the Shell if I could watch the series instead.
So this is an easy answer for me because I don't rewatch anime.
And that's true for me too. I don't rewatch
ever.
it. I don't really rewatch
There is
it. There's
one
too much
show
stuff.
that I rewatch, and I do it religiously once a year. I do my annual watching of Evangelion, 1 through 26 plus End of Evangelion. It is a holy week for me. it is my sabbatical. I don't know what else you call a holy
It's like
week,
your
but,
pilgrimage.
pilgrimage. There we go. So anything that isn't that, I don't rewatch. with the one caveat that I will rewatch something in order to show it to someone else, right? Like I know this
Yeah, that's
person's really
different.
gonna like
yeah, I get that.
initially.
I'll do that too. Yeah.
Right,
I'll rewatch it with
chaperoning a
them.
new anime. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. You got to make sure they know what's up because, you know, maybe you love it, but you forget that like 2 minutes in, there's this weird Japanese anachronism and you're like, or a very like specific thing. And you're like, oh, itadakimasu means like I've received this food. Like, thank you to the chef. Like it's a very like, it's thanks for this food. Amen. Like it's a quick prayer before you eat. And you're like, you got to explain it. Right. Because they're not into anime. They're not a crazy weeb who's been in Japanese culture since they were a child, right? And
Yeah.
you've gotta walk them through it.
You know,
But
I was gonna say I do have an answer now. It's like, never gonna watch DxD again. You know, once was good. I'll just stick to clips now.
yeah, I agree with you. I think the fan art of DxD is better than the actual art of DxD.
Yeah, something like that.
DxD.
High school,
High school DxD.
Yeah.
Oh boy, are
Well,
you unfamiliar?
I'm
with
not
high
going to
school
get into
DxD?
that. I'm not going to get into. I'd rather actually speak to this line in the chat. Got me depressed by E-Class Anime.
Oh, the section in Akame ga Kill. Yeah.
There is so much. Okay, you mentioned Evangelion, right? And if you speak to a normie about anime, 50%. I'm probably being extremely generous, but 50% of normies think anime is all about googly eyes and tentacles. And I've actually chastised a bunch of people on that subject. I'm like, stop it with the tentacles. That was like 1975, for Christ's sake. Just stop.
Yeah, it's only like 30%. Jeez.
Yeah, not even close. I mean, there's so many other, creepy monsters in those universes. But okay, you look at the shelves of anime.
penile objects.
Exactly. But there's no reason to be depressed about like anything like regarding publication. It's you go into a music store and you look at the number of published records and you try and guess at like how much of it you would actually know offhand. Now compare that to like the number of manga on the shelf and compared to the number of anime that were published. And it's a totally different thing. The whole rock star concept is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. Anime speaks to small
I'm gonna
audiences.
disagree. I'm just gonna contrarian for a minute here.
Go ahead.
I think, like, and I hate the term triggered because to me, media that makes you feel is the highest quality media. So if you have media that it like creates a physical response where you're getting you're sweating, your temperature's going up, your heart's racing, you're depressed, you're like, wow, that really does suck. You're starting to get into those nihilistic thoughts. I think that is the height of media that reaches into your brain and says, hey, why don't we poke this button and see what you think now? That I think that may suck in the moment of like, man, I'm kind of depressed. But when you get out of that, when you come off the other side and you're like, wait a minute, but that was a show and my life is my life. I think that is what media is meant to do, is meant to give us the feelings that we don't normally feel.
Right.
That would
you
be
were
my
talking about
counter-argument.
escapism. Like the heart of escapism is this complete separation from reality, like a really, really good kiss, like that first really good kiss where the universe just evaporates around you and you're like, whoa, where am I again? I've completely forgotten that there's a thing called time and space anymore because I watched Lane Serial Experiment, But there's an anime I want to bring up as a perfect example. I don't know why this speaks to me. There's so many things going on in this series that like most people would be like, oh my God, cringe. But Princess Jellyfish.
Oh, okay. I was ready. I was ready to cringe at you. But Jellyfish is a good show. It's a little boring from time to time, but like I think overall, if you can vibe with those characters, you'll have a blast with it, especially with the art style.
Yeah, it's like anime within anime within anime, and they don't want you to even know that they exist. Like all the characters could just do without you, which is probably my favorite part. That Yeah, like the mistress behind the closed door that we never get to see. She's
And
a
that you
manga.
don't. That's the best
She's a
part.
manga artist. And like they ask her permission by slipping notes underneath her door, and she like gives out messages like she was some sort of deity. It's so it speaks to the industry itself. It's like a trope within a trope.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and so Dragon Ruse, Princess Jellyfish is a 2010 anime. Yes, I did look that up because I don't have E-Class's brain where I can just call out what season and year something came from. But yeah, it was very well done, very fun. It's a I mean, it feels more like a female coming of age story, but it has enough other elements to it that it really can engage you and keep you going. So, without spoiling too much about it, definitely worth watching if you haven't seen Love After World Domination yet, because number one is Love After World Domination right now.
You know, we're talking about just like media making you emotional. The
Mhm.
last episode of Spy Family, episode 11, when the kid was drowning in the pool, that got me tense because of just
yeah.
how real that is,
Yeah.
because how possible that scenario is. Just like this kid just falls in the pool and he can't get out. That that happens to a lot of kids. That happens around
Right.
the country and everywhere in the world. People just die randomly and there's no real reason for it. That's terrifying.
Well, to go exactly to that example, I watch when I'm watching a new reaction channel. I check and see what movies they've reacted to in the past, and if they've done Princess Bride, I want to watch that first. Because if they get Princess Bride, I want to watch more of their reactions. Because
Okay.
when it comes to anime and any new media, we're all Fred Savage. And the new media is the book, The Princess Bride. And if you don't get it, and halfway through that movie, he's clenching the blanket, like your tense moment watching the kid drown in the pool, and he's clenching the blanket, and the grandfather's like, the kid's not going to drown. Don't worry. You know, our hero is going to get her, is going to save her, and then Lloyd is going to come in and save her. So, you know, no need to worry. But you get tense anyway because the story's got you.
Interesting. I go
Yep.
back to the most recent isekai review that someone has done, because if they call it trash and say it's a 10 out of 10 show in the same breath, I know that whatever they say will agree with what I think.
This is the show you have a problem with your sister?
No. So isekai is a genre. It's the
Okay.
I died and woke up in another world, or something happened and I'm in another world now. I'm in a video game. I'm in one of these things, and they are garbage shows. They are paint by numbers. The
I
anime,
don't get those.
but like, you know how like you're at the store and you look over and there's like a bag of Cheetos and some Reese's, and you're like, you know, I know those are bad for me. They're gonna taste really good, but they are gonna ruin my caloric intake for the week. But I'm gonna do it anyway. That's trash level isekai for me. Like a show where guy dies, go to another world, but he gets to keep his smartphone and builds a harem of girls while he's over there using his smartphone in a medieval land. That works for some reason because the god of the world said go ahead and do it. I freaking love those shows. They are so good, but they are just potato chips. There's no depth to them. There's no real interest.
Yeah.
They make me smile, and then it's over. So if someone can say this was the greatest show of all time, but it was absolute trash to whatever the most recent isekai style show is, I am about it. I am all about it. They whatever they say, I'll probably agree with, because I used to do Evangelion. I used to go see, a lot of the old school anime reviewers. Giga, Mother's Basement, not too old school, but Glass Reflection. They all did Evangelion reviews, and I was like, oh, they reviewed Evangelion. They really liked it, and then I can get into it. But then it became a thing that everybody did. Just everybody had an Evangelion review saying, this is the deepest anime of all time. And I was just like, I can't tell if I'm going to agree with them because now everybody says this about Evangelion. So then I had to switch it to, if they like trash isekai, we're probably going to agree.
Well, that's a good way to sharpen your eye. And I look for that a lot because you could tell who's done the wiki and who's done the review, because there's a total
yeah.
difference. Somebody who's just reciting what everybody else is saying as opposed to viscerally reacting. Like I watched this Swedish woman who just recently reacted to V for Vendetta, and she was flabbergasted, just blown out of her chair. She's usually a very chatty girl during the reaction times, and she was silent for most of the movie, like biting her finger silent, like she was blown away. That kind of genuineness to me is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that kind of reaction. So I get what you're saying, but it's a good way to sharpen your eyes as to who is genuinely reviewing something and who isn't. But
Yes.
to get back to
Wise man.
the isekai, no game, no life, no game, no life is a
Yep.
guilty pleasure. It's just an absolute guilty pleasure for me, especially that sequence in the library with the angelic monster.
Yep.
I love that friggin' sequence. It's so smartly constructed.
Wise Man Grandchild, I think, is one. I believe you are correct. I actually didn't watch Wise Man Grandchild. But it looked like an isekai, and it looked like good old garbage that I would have liked.
Yeah, I
Depends
watched
on the
that
trash
one.
isekai
It's,
for you, E-Class. What do you mean? What's a trash isekai that you don't like? That you don't go like, well, you know what? Those were kind of the crumbs that I had to like scrape off the bottom of the Lay's bag, but like they were still Lay's.
Yeah, I'd say a Wise Man's Grandchild is definitely trash, and it was very okay.
Oh, I know it's okay. I have one trash opinion. End of story. I have no other trash opinions.
I've skipped on that genre for the most part because the fantasy, because I'm such a sci-fi buff,
Mhm.
fantasy kind of pisses me off. It's like, guys, why does this work for you when there's so much science fiction that's never even been touched? I mean, you're drawing all the visual effects. So why can't we do this on a sci-fi level? Right? Where's the sci-fi? Where is the gigantic, incredible aliens talking to aliens? There's not a Caucasian male in sight anywhere for 2 or 3 episodes. What's the name of the show? Galactic Express, where it's like literally these 2 blue cat kids on the train for a whole show, and it's like it's the most magical thing I've ever seen.
I think that's Night on the Galactic Railroad.
Yeah, there you go. That's the title. I'm terrible with these
No, that's all
titles, but I just don't get the fantasy thing. I get that it's so grounded because it's all sword and sorcery, but when it turns into pink dresses and boobs with swords, and it's just like, really? It's like, is this what we're doing here? It's beautiful. It's well animated. The characters are kind of interesting, but it's like, there's like so many of them. There's so many.
Oh yeah, yeah, and there's
If I
a
were to pick
whole
out
aisle full of chips.
If I were to pick out just one really good one that just happens to be an isekai, would be Mushoku Tensei. That show is one of my
It
favorites.
also started it, so like most of the tropes weren't tropes at the time. So
Right.
Similar to how with Evangelion, that led to a lot of the like the anime girl tropes that we have now being like really, really refined, even though they were trying to be not the tropes.
Yeah.
It kind of led to a lot of that. And similar, Mushoku Tensei was the first light novel isekai. So a lot of the like guy has a overpowered magic ability, right? A lot of those tropes came from there. So they don't feel like paint by numbers because they're not as refined in that one. I quite enjoy that show.
Well, the original people that dip their feet in are always the ones that are digging the coal mine. They're opening up the gold vein for the first time. And when somebody starts seeing the dollars coming out of it, they're like, oh my God, coattail, time for me to latch onto that train. especially if there's huge fan service in the in the independent industry.
Mhm.
I was gonna say one thing that definitely separates it is how Mushoku Tensei goes into the details of how the world works and the actual mechanics of it. Whereas lots of other things just like, hey, you know what it is, you know
Right.
what you're here for, stuff like that, and it doesn't like go into detail and actually make it feel alive. It just feels
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it's an isekai. You know what that is?
We have to go to the guild and get a quest.
Why?
Oh, I've got
Well,
experience from killing things.
but we can
What-
blame
what-
that on the MMOs, right? I mean, because everybody was playing one MMO or another, so they all knew the language.
What
Whereas,
year was that out? What year was
What-
Mushoka come
I
out?
think it was 2019.
20.
Might have
Oh.
been 2020.
It was.
Oh my
It's
God,
new.
these time
Well, it's
frames are
recent.
killing me.
Oh, it's
Jeez.
actually 2021. The start of 2021. Yeah, that's when the
Yeah.
first season came out.
Well, you want to
And,
talk
and
about
it
classic
is
ones?
not trash for sure.
Yeah,
No.
very
What about Magic Knight Rayearth? There you go. Isekai at its finest by Clamp.
My
Yeah.
goodness, pulling out the wiki magic on me. Studio Clamp.
It's Clamp.
That
Magic
one is
Knight
older
Rayearth.
than- That is older than I am.
Yeah, you know, I'm
Doesn't
gonna
mean
drop.
it's not any good.
I'm gonna drop the
You
gauntlet
got
on that
E-class
one.
and-
Sakura Card Captors.
Oh yeah, yeah.
that
That gotta
was
collect
just
them all.
guilty pleasure up the wazoo. I was her best friend with the video camera. I wanted to see the next outfit. I wanted to see the next card.
Yep.
Just so good, so good. But
mean, it
what was
was-
the deconstruction? Keep forgetting the name of it. Mokoto or Makoto or something
Magical
like that.
Girl.
Yeah, that deconstruction was genius. That was
Mhm.
a genius deconstruction of the genre because the cat, the cute pet became the
Or as
demon of the
Madoka
universe.
Magica, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm speaking
Yeah.
of.
The
Yeah.
Magical Girl's a genre, yeah.
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 You're
but
talking about
Madoka
Kiro?
Magica is-
Kiro Barros.
But the cat in that one?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was in Card Captor Sakura. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the deconstruction and the one that he just mentioned is what I'm
Oh, it's
speaking.
cool.
It
Yeah.
just changed. It changed the whole genre. It's like all of a sudden, Magical Girl became something that had a new layer of texture. Like somebody had onion skinned it somehow and pulled the onion apart, and it's like now it's a whole new genre again because somebody said, "Hey, I'm gonna Watchman the hell out of this."
Hail, Comic Relief Crusader in chat. How goes your night? What else do we have here? Bofuri, yes, was fun. I quite enjoyed that one. Someone just maxes out their defense stats and just keeps going, but because no one ever did in QC, they don't have any like. There's a bunch of weird dev bugs that pop up, so she can just dominate with only defense. Pretty funny. I like that show. Cautious Hero, man. Now we're just listing off different isekai that are really good. Overlord, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. I love both of those shows. Demon Lord and two more. I can't remember the names of Demon Lord. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Demon Lord. Like I feel like Demon Lord's probably the name of an anime, but I think you missed a type on that. We can catch that another time though. What else we got? We got Cautious Hero, talking Isekai, Magical Girls.
How you doing, Comic Relief? It blows my mind. You guys started mentioning when these things started to happen, and you're like, "Oh yeah, man, it was like way back in 2018," and I'm laughing my ass off over here because it's like, Jesus Christ, this happened like two weeks ago for me.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Although I was mentioning more the day because I was like, yeah, that's pretty recent. It was pretty close ago that the Mushoku Tensei came out. I was like, when exactly was that? Yeah, I can see what you mean. Is like, oh yeah, way back when early on in my career in 2016 when I started watching anime.
Back when I was 15.
I'm not even speaking of it on that level either. It's just that this has happened so fast. I mean, I was doing America Online in 1998. Okay, and the new thing on the block was only like 5 or 6 years later, and we still hadn't even invented the iPhone yet. And that was like MySpace was like the huge big thing and blew AOL out of the water. Meanwhile, we're changing browsers every 5 seconds, and like whole browser companies are just blowing up under their own weight.
Got me
Like, you
some Netscape Navigator, eh?
Exactly. And this is not even a criticism. I'm not throwing shade at any of this. I hope that all of these new people, all of these new artists understand how new this really is. I mean, Pokemon and Sailor Moon blew up anime in the West. They just blew it up.
Yeah.
And all of this other stuff that happened afterwards, people talk about My Hero Academia as if it was like ancient storytelling. And I'm like, you guys don't even get how that show took the genre of superheroes and basically said, hold my beer to the entire superhero industry. DC and Marvel are basically dead. They're done. It's over.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
over.
In terms of actually making comics, yeah, they're not going anywhere. They're just gonna keep falling down.
How many hero ideas, power sets, names, costume technologies did My Hero Academia invent out of their friggin' ass in a heartbeat? And like Marvel's been struggling with this thing for decades.
How about
Yeah,
if
it's
we have our best hero or like our 18th best hero have a kid, and now they're the new hero?
Yeah,
something
no,
like that.
the comics industry with like the classic runs, and they're like, oh, I've got this hero we've used for years. How do we reinvent him again? It's always just like reinvent, like a hero, as opposed to what if we just made something new or different. And I think that kind of goes back to just like the amount of independent thought that's encouraged in the manga industry.
Yeah.
And something I always try to explain to people too, because it's a little hard to live in America and kind of understand the amount of people that you have over there. My county, if you cut my county in half and put our entire state's population in that county, Tokyo would still have a higher population density.
Yeah.
There's just so many humans and so many brains and so many thoughts that you can pull from that it has to happen. Like, it has to work in a place like that where it's like you've got to do something that's really weird, really unique, or very special that'll get everybody excited about it.
You got to find your audience.
Yes.
Ooh, is Marvel struggling? Asks E-Class.
I'd say Marvel Comics is. Maybe not Marvel Entertainment or the
It's
movies,
hard to
but
say exactly
comics
where
are.
they are now, because I think Marvel's not in a healthy place. They're still, I assume they're still making money off their Disney Plus stuff. I assume that's still going well enough, but it's definitely not in a healthy place. I don't think it's going to continue to do so in the future. They're going to need to do something about it. But
Yeah,
Marvel Comics are dead.
Yes. Yeah.
Gary
got
at Nerdrotic basically said that they've painted themselves into a woke corner, and it's almost like there's no escape anymore. It's I don't know what they're going to do to backpedal.
I don't know what they could possibly do. They would have to just kill the universe to start again. But I don't even know if that's going to be a good thing for them. I might just kill the brand.
That would be like their 30th time. I mean, you look at Crisis on Infinite Earth, and they've already done that like 3 times. It's absurd now. It's absurd.
I'm not talking about comics, actually. I'm talking about their like TV show universe. I think, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. The WB has just shot itself in the foot so many times. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it anymore. Which is, I think, the live action element is proof of why this is a disaster in the making. Like, there was no way they were going to really make this work as well as they wanted it to, when you have the Batman animated series and Justice League just representing the material. Like, everybody across the board completely agrees that was the prime media of this material. Like, they made no mistakes. The Teen Titans, I still look back on that and I'm like, holy crap, some of the stories in here are so edgy and deep, and the characters are so interesting. And then they go all goofy Looney Tunes on you, and then it goes right back to being edgy and deep. It's so good.
I like the first Goofy Looney Tunes one though. That was fun. I quite enjoyed it, and it felt really dark towards the end, even though it was Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, I would actually be interested in seeing Marvel do, like, assuming they're able to write good stories still. I'd be interested to see them just do a high budget, just actual animated film like the Spider-Verse. I'd like to just see them do more of that.
Right. Yeah, we got a little taste of it with What If, but they're just
In
so
terms of what
encumbered by
like
their
we
own
like, yeah.
bullshit. But to get it
What do
back
you
to
mean that is? It's
anime,
what-
It
TV
does
show.
make me wonder though, why? Because the manga industry is comics, is books, right? It is
Yep.
printed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So then how? And I think I'm solving it as I'm asking this question. Like, how is it that the print media over there has survived and made it so that you have this? Because over like the Indiegogos and stuff that I was like trying to talk about or mentioning earlier, it's like you're still physically printing a thing, but they often have like digital stuff tagged onto it. But like the doujin industry and the manga industry is all very print, and yes, there's a lot of light novels, and there's also some original anime, but most anime comes from manga. Very few of them come from these digital like webtoon type locations. So why is it that they have such a thriving like manga scene? Because like manga, there's a lot to it, and people like they still buy magazines. They still they're just printing so many different types of things that it's always like how can you do all of that stuff and still make money off of it?
well, I think
They-
that kind of speaks to the Japanese as a people, that they are into the creative process, and it's more about the diligence and hard work and the endeavor than it is about the material itself. It's like, okay, that's a really great story. What else you got?
Right.
Go ahead, pop
And, like-
culture. I interrupted.
That's
go
okay. I think it's they worry more about telling a good story rather than pushing the message. You know, they do that better, and they know that their fans expect that, so they're going to do that. If they don't, then obviously sales are going to go down. Publishers going to look at them and go, "What are you doing? Don't do that," and
Yeah.
they won't.
I think they also have very specific reasons for that. Is the fact that lots of these people making stuff are just fans. These people are just fans. They just want good stuff themselves, so they
Right.
want to make something good. They can't really take any time to do something that isn't specifically their goal of making like a good superhero comic, right?
Right.
They can't go outside that. They need to focus everything on that because they only get one chance, maybe, right? This is like one chance to get stardom to be a big thing. They have to make it perfect.
And
Yeah.
the answer to my own question that I thought up while I was posing it is going back to that the doujin level. There are 6 levels of doujins of self-published comics to 1 or 2 levels of printed manga. So by the time something is moving to manga, it probably has a much bigger following because it's built it grassroots in the doujin levels. At least I was like, oh, idiot, why are you
I think it
asking
helps
this question?
our artists and writers find themselves in what they are good at doing and who wants to read their stuff and where they should be going, stuff like that. It helps weed out bad ideas because
Yeah.
it's meritocracy, kind of.
Oh, and as well, if they're going to, if I do like a Wolverine comic or something, Marvel's going to come after me and sue me, and that's it.
Right.
So, I can't do anything to pay tribute to any of these characters from DC or Marvel. Yet in Japan, they just, oh yeah, I'm just going to do a comic about this, and nobody comes after me or anything like that. So I think that's another thing too, to get it. It spreads it around more and makes it more like everybody's like, oh wow, this is everywhere, and they read it and they have a good time.
Yeah, or they do like a little censor bar over the eyes.
Yeah,
It's like totally not this guy.
Well, there's a TED talk that happened a long time ago where a woman breaks down the copyright regulations regarding publishing and media in the Western world. And
Mhm.
Hollywood or not Hollywood, but published material, copyrighted material, you wouldn't believe how small that is compared to the uncopyrighted stuff. Like, you can't copyright a haircut. You can't copyright a clothing pattern. You can copyright the print, but anybody can make that clothing and call it their own. And there's no restriction on it. And she said, just to let you know, here are some of the financial numbers on the subject. And the fashion industry and all of its accessory industries, and the haircut industry and all of its accessory industries like scissors and shampoos and colognes and all that other jazz and hair clips, all of that stuff, it's in the trillions of dollars over the publishing industry, trillions of dollars. So I'm going to put my foot in it, but the copywriting of media is a huge problem to creativity. And we're living in a world where I can copy a photograph, bring it over, copy it off to another page in another application, and then recopy it. And it's not even the same metadata anymore. It's a totally new image. So I don't know what anybody's even talking about. I mean, I've placed the whole meme thing is basically shattering copyright regulations as we speak, because you can't, I could steal somebody's photograph and they're laughing 5 minutes later because I stole their photograph and put it on somebody else's body. And they're like, oh my God, that's a total joy. Look what you did. That's so creative. What a smart fellow you are. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. I've been watching it for decades, and we're watching the transformation of creative media and expression as we speak. I mean, it's the digital industry is transforming it by the second.
100%. 100%. And what happens when the first AI to write music copyrights itself?
Yeah,
What do we
that's a
do?
problem.
When our computers are getting in trouble.
Well, I was just thinking about you guys have all heard of this incredibly mysterious book called the Voynich manuscript or whatever, where it's like nobody can translate it, or what are all these weird illustrations and all these plants that don't exist anymore, and it's the Voynich, whatever.
I have no idea what that is.
It's this magical book that nobody's been able to translate, and it's been around since the 1600s. And the only way to look at it is online, right? And I was watching a video on the subject today and coupling it with the idea in my head that there's an AI out there that can look at the manuscript and edit it in real time to make it look like anything, because it can do that same illustration quality. So the image online can be altered by anybody who doesn't want certain images to happen, and you wouldn't even be able to know because the metadata is digital. So it's like there's no proof anymore. You want to do a new book by Dr. Seuss, there's an AI for that.
The ones that are killing me are the AI drawings, the images.
Yeah.
People keep posting these. They'll write something like,
Yeah, I know what you're
Jackie
talking
Chan
about.
doing the splits, and then it'll draw Jackie Chan, like it'll make images through AI.
Right, Crocodile Holocaust, I think, was one I saw
it's
recently.
it's crazy. And we watched it build itself. That's the thing that I don't know if people, because the internet has made people forget everything that happened yesterday, forget there were weird AI drawings that went around the internet about 4 years ago, like 4 months ago. And they're all really freaky looking. And then now we're seeing these things coming out, and it's like everybody's just building those tech that's doing all the machine learning. And then once it like iterates enough times and enough sites, it's got enough data to just look crazy.
There's a channel called 2 Minute Papers that I highly recommend. Everybody should jot the channel name down. This guy is an AI professor, and he writes these algorithms, and he basically puts out this YouTube newsletter called 2 Minute Papers, where he talks about this. And some of the images coming out of some of these new AIs are photorealistic. He types in gingerbread house made out of chihuahuas, and there's a photograph of a gingerbread house made out of chihuahuas. Like somebody photographed it, like somebody made it in a CGI set and photographed it in a real studio. And the light can be moved around it, and it becomes a 3D object all of a sudden. And it's like, you got to be kidding me! This is the end of creativity.
And you know what? When Skynet becomes a thing, it won't even have to be a picture. It'll go get those chihuahuas for you.
Well, I'm not even you don't even need to go that tinfoil. I'm just talking about an advertising agency can now say in a sentence or two, do this artwork. And we've got a jaguar on a street in the rain with these two beautiful people that don't exist, and yet it's all photorealistic. The street is not on any Google map. The background is not on any place on the planet. It's all made up, but it's photorealistic. They don't have to copyright anything. They don't have to pay a photographer. They don't have to pay models or even get the car. It's all there. And it's all photorealistic. That's a disaster.
Yeah, it's crazy. We all had this fear that the AI would be building our cars and then ruin it, or they would do our manual labor, but no. We're going to make our AI do our leisurely activities of artwork and music.
And our thinking.
Make it do fun things, it won't kill us.
Maybe.
That's all well and good, but I could tell you by the time I left high school in 1987, all of my artistic craft had already been subverted by PageMaker and Adobe Photoshop, and all of my press type experience of working with press type on a physical page were subverted by Fontage in the digital space. And by the time I learned Photoshop, that was being subverted by another program. And then the computer speed race started, and it just kept subverting itself. And then I took a course in HTML only to find out that there was like a new HTML program where you typed it out and just dumped your text in there, and boom, HTML all of a sudden automatic. So it's been a disaster for decades now.
Just to double check, 'cause we have a question here in chat. Steven, you don't like fantasy anime?
Not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Wrong.
But when a genre takes possession of a media, like the way that we talk about superhero fatigue or Star Wars fatigue, I think that there is some fatigue in the fantasy realm of anime that either needs to be subverted or reinvented. Like that one anime I mentioned about, it's like this door opens to this Japanese restaurant, and these fantasy characters show up there to get a BLT, or their favorite dumplings or their favorite rice dish. And they're like, oh my God, this food is magical. How do you even make this? It's like, what, you don't have rice in your realm? And it's like, is that what they call this, rice? It's like, that's what the fantasy realm needs. But if you look at the success of sci-fi and the Gundam, Macross, and the conversion of the F-16 into this incredible piece of weaponry, I'm a sci-fi buff, and I would like to see anime focus more on science fiction. I think fantasy is all well and good, but this is an extremely talented industry that needs to go one step further. Gurren Lagann is a perfect example. That's like, oh my God, it just kept getting more and more and more epic when there's like mecha standing on top of whole galactic structures by the end of the story. It's like, Jesus, this is where we could go, guys. It's all hand drawn. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're given the idea of everything, and you're getting sort of a weird version of the past. And it's like, well, no, show me what animation can do. Open the world, unlock everything, that kind of thing. You want to see the excitement. You want to see the thing that you didn't read about in a textbook. And yes, I know magic and dragons aren't real, but maybe my textbook was just cooler than yours.
Yeah, I think a little bit of that is probably connected to the fact that it's pretty easy. Everybody knows fantasy, and people just want to tell like their little story, and that's how it gets popular. It goes up the chain. That's just kind of what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think the reimagining of Evangelion is probably a really good gesture to, even especially if it's not as good as everybody expected it to be, that will stimulate all new creativity. Like, oh, I'm going to one up this one, hold my beer for a second. I'm going to make a better Evangelion than that.
Yeah, which we saw happen. We saw that happen once. We maybe see it happen twice.
Mhm.
E-Class believes that mecha is totally fantasy. I think he's getting
Yes,
semantic with you.
yes, and so are the wood sentries in Tenchi Muyo. They are also fantasy, but they are technology at the same time, as opposed to magic, zap, pow, and we don't need to explain it. There's an herb for that. Whereas in a sci-fi realm, there's a whole history behind it where they have to work out all of the mechanics, and those mechanics don't just change on a whim because somebody blurred their visualization of it. It's different. I get what you're saying. I agree with you. That's why Star Wars is considered sci-fi fantasy. But there's a difference between sharpened blades and phaser weapons.
That is true. That is true. At the end of the day, that is a different thing. E-Class believes you would like Vivi. I also believe you would like Vivi. I think everyone would like Vivi.
I'll have to look at that.
It is a really interesting Android show, I'll say. Very, very fun overall. Great music, just absolute banger. And I, if I'm remembering, I'm not gonna look this one up, but I'm pretty sure it's Production IG. And they, I mean, Production IG's got just some gorgeous anime. Always have. I mean, they were Ghost in the Shell, so like we've seen them use CG and make it look decent before CG even existed. So we know they can use computers to make everything they like, or everything. Oh my god, what was the word? Look good. Just it looks good. Damn it.
Well, E-Class Anime. Let me toss this one. I just recently went through a supercut of Dimension W.
Oh, Dimension W.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's a whole sci-fi realm that is semi-superhero, but it's not. And there's a technology that's basically governing all of the stuff. Psycho-Pass is another one, where it's more a discussion. Meanwhile, it's nothing but a cop drama, but somebody's put this onion skin over it that made it into a science fiction. But like all of those wolves, you could take that way back, and it's a samurai story about ronins, and they're no longer acceptable by society, but we still need them. I mean, Psycho-Pass is like that, where new government regulations has turned these wolves into a necessary part of the police force, but they're not to be trusted because they're part of the old world. So, that's what I would like to see. These new discussions about older material, because we're not changing, the world is.
Definitely. Haven't seen it. Where can I watch it? If you're talking about Vivi, I thought Vivi was on Crunchyroll. But if you're talking about Psycho-Pass, I think Psycho-Pass is either on Netflix or High Dive. But I don't remember off the top of my head.
And if you're not willing to jump into like some sort of a website, there's plenty of people reacting to it. There's got to be at least the first or second episode partially examined on YouTube right here if you want to get a feel for like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm going to pass on this Psycho-Pass. But the technology too seems to be driving these visualizations. And in Psycho-Pass, there's literally like everybody lives in a concrete bunker, but you would never know because the hologram technology makes every place look like a palace or a fantasy cafe. It's just brilliant visualizations.
Definitely. That will be something. Gentlemen, I'm tired.
This has been great. Blaine, thank you very much for having me on.
Definitely. I got up early today. Early for me. 7 a.m. I was on stream with Brandon this morning, so
yeah, I was watching it.
It's been a long one for me.
As someone who also woke up at 7 and then probably went back to sleep, I wish you a good night then.
Yeah, no, I did not go back to sleep. Let's go around the horn. Pop culture. What do you got going on this weekend?
Hey, fortunately, I'm not going to be able to do any gaming on Saturday or anime chat on Sunday. Just got some important family stuff to take care of. So I will get back to it probably next weekend after.
Take
But,
take breaks. Take
yeah,
breaks.
oh, yeah.
Family is far more important.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
do
come
that
to my
this
channel.
weekend.
Come to my channel, everybody. Have a look. See what you like. You know.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely look you up. Do we have a link in the chat, perhaps? Any chance?
I will
Blaine?
pop it in the chat. I'll add it to the description at the end of this video, if nothing else.
Okay.
But I'll let me pull them up real quick. I'll stick them in the chat. All right, Steven, where do you want people to find you if you want them to find you?
Well, to be honest with you, I've been cheerleading to Twitter. Everything and anything I really enjoy on YouTube gets a tweet. I mean, I screenshot screens and then send up images and put my little commentary below the link. That's been something I've been feeling pretty giddy about. You can find me in a lot of different chats, usually some pretty old school chats like Culture Casino and Comics Division, and I've been made a huge change recently from the gigantic channels to the smaller ones, and Latino Slant and Salty Texas Sea and Zax and Flaccid Phoenix. If you just want a good giggle, Flaccid Phoenix is just, God, those guys are just tearing it up. They've got this tag team between Dom and Gator, and they are just witty as hell. And they dance on the line straight face like they were actors in the movie Airplane. They very rarely break character. They're so good. Like here I am. I'm cheerleading. You can find me on Twitter by the same name. Stephen Ransom. I'm at Bleffin Ransom, which is a name I picked up in high school and never really gave up on. But Stephen Ransom. I'm huge into astrology, but that's all my YouTube channel really has is some astrology videos that are really low tech and raw. But my playlists are always kept up and groomed with what I'm interested in. That sort of thing.
All right, no, I'm shutting you down. You can't be talking about grooming playlists in your outro.
Jeez.
But yeah, Twitter. I'm on
Sounds like
Twitter.
Blaine's going to Florida soon. I don't know. Yeah,
I guess.
I'll probably just be spending some time on myself. I got a couple games of Steam Summer Sale. Picked up Age of Empires. Gonna look to check that out. Play some more Control, which is free on Epic. That's pretty cool. I played a little bit of it so far. I've enjoyed it. Finish up the last 3 shows I've been paying most attention to, which is Love After World Domination, Kaguya-sama, and Spy Family.
Good. That is gonna be fun. All right. I am Blaine. I am here. You know I am. You've got Discord link pinned in the chat. You've got the Twitter handle in the chat. You know where to find me. I'll be here Monday. Everybody, have a wonderful weekend, and we will catch you next time. Kampai.
Night chat.
Adios.
Have a good one.